Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone for bringing out this truth. And shalom to the 144,000 out there pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. And to the rest of the hopeful elect listening and learning. Title of this one is going to be The Redman. I was inspired to bring out this one after coming across this picture on social media and then the article that was attached to it. It reads, Black ballerinas are calling for dancewear companies to offer pointy shoes in a wider range of skin tones. Our skin isn't pink. So the article doesn't necessarily go into the shoes, but it goes into the stockings, but has a similar concept. So and it reads, why do ballet dancers wear pink tights? It says, suppose you have watched a ballet performance or rehearsal. In that case, you will likely have noticed that all the dancers typically wear pink tights. Although this has always been the case with dancers of all races, including in the ballet world. It could leave one to wonder why all ballet dancers wear pink tights. Ballet tights were originally pink to match the skin tones of European dancers. So these people call themselves white. But now they're saying their skin tone is pink. So they've been knowing this. They've been knowing they weren't white. Because they didn't put on white tights. They put on pink tights to match their skin tone. Which is evidence that they're not white. And this article is going off a little bit. But the pink is closer to their skin tone than white. Because they're red. You can see their blood through their skin. Let's continue. Pink tights allow the audience to see dancers' lines and muscles while covering the skin and allowing freedom of movement. There are questions around the relevance of pink tights in today's diverse ballet world. So it says ballet dancers began wearing tights around 1790 with the invention of tights, since the dancers of the time were European, the so-called white people, the Edomites. Pink was the color that closely matched their skin tone. Why? Because they're red. Their skin is translucent. You can see their blood through their skin. If you wonder why the standard for ballet is still pink tights, you're not alone. Join us as we discover the details of why ballet dancers wear pink tights and learn about the discussion on this topic. So it says ballet came into being around 1581 in Italy and France. Back then, dancers did not wear tutus and tights. Instead, they wore full-length outfits that were the norm for everyday life. It was only around 1790 that tights were invented, and that is when ballet dancers began wearing them for performances. When dancers began wearing tights for shows at this time, it caused quite a stir. More on that later. Since ballet was first performed in Europe, which is just Western Asia, the dancers had light skin. Ballet tights were worn in pink to match the dancers' skin tones as closely as possible. Using pink tights for ballet had the added advantage of seeing the dancers' legs under the fabric. When dancers wear pink tights, you can see their muscles, lines, movements, and poses quite clearly beneath the material. The color contributes to the enjoyment of the watching of the performance and helps ballet teachers see which areas need improvement. The idea behind ballet dancers wear pink tights and other clothing items come from when all ballet dancers were Europeans, the so-called white people, the Edomites, the red Hebrew Edomites. Since their skin tones were mainly pale or rosy pink, they're red. Having pink ballet attire helped extend the lines of their limbs, making them appear more graceful and elegant. I think that's enough of that. Let's get to some scripture. So this is Genesis chapter 25. Start at verse 22. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. So she went and spoke to the prophets, the mouth of Yahweh by Shemel Shai. Verse 23. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So they're different. And one people shall be stronger than the other, Jacob. Then the other people, Esau, are the Edomites. And the elder shall serve the younger. The elder is Esau, the younger is Jacob. And when her days to be delivered were filled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. So Esau came out red. Why? Because you can see his blood through his skin. Esau is the progenitor of these so-called modern Europeans, these so-called white people. They're actually red, just like their forefather, Esau. You can see their blood through their skin. That's why this article was going into the fact, the pink tights match their skin tone. They're rosy pink. They're red. You can see their blood through their skin. They know they're not white. White is the color of like paper or milk. They're not white. They're red. And they know it. That article helped prove it. In verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heels, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Let's jump forward to the book of Revelations. It says Revelations chapter 6 and verse 3. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red. This horse represents power, and the red is talking about who has the power. Esau, Edom, the red people, the so-called Europeans, the so-called white people, the Idumeans, the Edomites, the red Hebrew Edomites. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. Is that not what they've been doing? Just war and war. That's all they know. And that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. What do you think that great sword is? The ICBM nuclear missiles. Oppenheimer. Hey, let's go back to Genesis. Genesis chapter 27. Down in verse 38. It says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. So they're going to have the best places of the earth. They got it. And the dew of heaven from above. They got it. And by the sword thou shalt live. Esau is living in his blessing right now. He get the best places on the earth. He get everything. He runs the world. He's at the top. He's the head, not the tail. And he's living by a sword. That's all he does is war. And shall serve thy brother. So he served his brother during the times of King David and Solomon. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So they got from under Jake. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherein his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, and then I will slay my brother Jacob. So this is where the hate started. So if you ever wondered, you so-called Latinos, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, so-called African Americans, why these so-called Europeans, so-called white people, these red Hebrew Edomites, why they just hate you, this is when it started. You got the blessing and they didn't. because they sold it. But it was never for them. So that's why they hate you. This is where it started from. Okay? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 35. It said prophecy against Mount Seir. It said, moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. Mount Seir is the home of the Edomites. That was given to the Edomites. It's modern day Petra, Jordan. That's where the Edomites were. They're those people who dwelleth in the clefts of the rocks. That's what they're known for. They lived in Petra. Eventually, through time, they ended up in the Caucasus Mountains, in the rocks again. That's what they do. They're cavemen. Verse 3. And said unto it, Thus said Yahweh power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Okay, so his hand is he going to stretch out, and he going to make them most desolate. So let's look up this word desolate. Devastation, waste, desolation. Okay. Let's go to the etymology. Desolate, of persons, disconsolate, miserable, overwhelmed with grief, deprived of comfort, without companion, solitary, lonely, uninhabited, abandoned. That's the fate of Esau, Edom. So, it says, I will stretch out my hand against thee. What's that hand? That hand is Yahweh Shai. That's that hand. Go to the book of Psalms 110. Psalms 110 and 1. And it says, Yahweh said unto my Lord, or my master, Sit thou at my right hand, until I make thy enemies thy footstool. So it's the Most High talking to Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai is at the right hand of the Heavenly Father. He is the Heavenly Father's right hand. And he's going to make his enemies his footstool, including the Edomites. Let's go down to verse 5. And it says, And the master at thy right hand will strike through kings in the day of his wrath. And it's going into all the heathen nations, including Esau, Edom. Because Yahweh Shai will take all their crowns. It'll be one nation, one ruling nation, one kingdom on this planet. And that's going to be the kingdom of Yasharallah, Yahweh Shai's kingdom. Verse 6, He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. He taken them down. He shall drink of the brook in the way, and therefore shall he lift up the head. Now, let's go get another example, more specific to Esau, Edom, in Isaiah 63. It says, Who is that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Basra is a city in Edom. Okay? This is talking about the coming back of Yahweh Shai. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? Why is his garments red like he treaded in the wine fat? Because it's filled with blood, the blood of his enemies. He's coming back to strike down Esau, Edom, and these heathens. This is specifically talking about Esau, Edom. Verse 3, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So Yahushua waiting for this. He coming for Esau Edom. He ready for him. It's going to be on. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore my own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. And I will tread down the people in mine anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. And Yahushua is going to take down Esau Edom when he comes back. Let's go back to the book of Ezekiel. Chapter 35 and verse 4. And it says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Okay. Now let's get another precept. Malachi, verse 1, chapter 1, verse 2 and 3. And it says, I have loved you, saith Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob. So Esau hated Jacob, but the Most High loved Jacob. Verse 3, and I hated Esau, and said to his mountains, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Okay, and so that mountains goes into governments. Okay, and it says for the dragons of the wilderness. Okay, now let's get an example of dragons of the wilderness. Go to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Verse 29, and it says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, talking about the Ishmaelites, shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, talking about the Iranians, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come, enjoying battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So the Assyrians in this case is talking about modern day Babylon, America, the Edomites. Okay? That's what it's talking about. So we got the Ishmaelites and the Iranians coming together to murk some Esau Edom in Babylon the Great. Okay? Verse 31, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, and remember their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Okay? So now we have an idea what those dragons can be. Now this was in the first step. This, when we just read 2nd Ezra, that's talking about a future prophecy. But the Ishmaelites and the Edomites have had interactions and wars before. If you go back in history, you'll look at the Nabateans. They were Ishmaelites, and they actually took down the Edomites in Mount Seir in ancient times. So let's go to Genesis chapter 16, verse 11. And it says, and the angel of Yahweh said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh hath heard thine affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of his brothers. So the Ishmaelites, they're that wild man. They're the dragons of the wilderness. That's the Ishmaelites. That's what it's talking about. Let's see if I can find the Nabateans. The Nabatean kingdom. So let's see. The Nabatean kingdom was a powerful political entity which flourished in the region of modern-day Jordan between the 4th century BC and 106 CE, and is best known today for the ruins of its capital city of Petra. Though it is clear that a wealthy community was thriving in the immediate vicinity of Petra by 312 BCE, attested to by Greek expedition mounted against it, scholars usually date the Nabatean kingdom from 168 BC, the date of their first known king, to 106 CE, when it was annexed by the Roman Empire. The Nabateans were Arabian nomads. Okay, that's all I wanted to get. Now, let's continue with more Malachi. So Malachi 1:4, and it says, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said Yahweh of hosts. So the Most High took the Edomites down multiple times throughout history, and then they return and build the desolate places. Okay? They shall build and I will throw down, and they shall call in the border of wickedness, the people against whom Yahweh had indignation forever. So, the Edomites have been in a continual strife with Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai. So, he's always making their habitations desolate, and then they rebuild. What did he say for Amalek? I will make war with Amalek from generation to generation. So ultimately, he wants Amalek blotted out from under heaven. All the Edomites are gonna get got. That's what the Most High wants. So that's what's gonna happen. Okay. So right now, the Edomites are built up. And when Yahushua comes, he gonna make their habitations desolate. And they ain't gonna never build back up again. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. And it says, thus said Yahweh power. This is Jerusalem. Oh, nope. That was chapter 5. I need chapter 35. Ezekiel 35 and 5. And it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So we're just talking about. So the perpetual hatred. So didn't we just read in Genesis the 27th chapter that Esau hated Jacob? Well, that hatred continued on. And it never went away, so it became a perpetual hatred. And they shed the blood of the children of Israel by the sword in the time of their calamity. Okay? So when Israel is trodden down, when Israel is in a low place, when Israel is in captivity, like for now, for instance, like we done served our captivity, and the burden of it has been lightened off of us over years, but they're still murking us with the sword. And so Yahweh Bashim Yahushai said, okay, I'm going to pay you back for that. Let's get some precepts to support this. So let's go to Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 5. And it said, whoso mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker. Okay? And who is the poor? The Israelites. And he that is glad at calamities shall not be unpunished. So Esau, Edom, was glad at the calamities of the Israelites. So they can't go unpunished. It's written. They got to get this work. So let's go to Jeremiah, chapter 49, and verse 12. It says, for thus said Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. That's talking about the Israelites. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Talking about the Edomites. Thou shalt not go unpunished. Again, talking about the Edomites. But thou shalt surely drink of it. Edomites will have to drink of this cup. And the rest of the heathens too. Verse 13. For I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, that Basra, which is the Edomite city, modern day would be America, shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. That's going to be their judgment. I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her, and rise up to battle. And that's what's happening. The whole world is going to rise up against this man, Esau, Edom. You have no place to hide. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. And that is happening. Let's go to the book of Obadiah. This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 10. And it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Now, what violence? Well, let's see. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captives his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gates of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of his distress. So Esau Edom did this. And we already read the punishment of the things that he did for Israel. And we read in Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 5. Of what would happen. And they rejoiced in the day of our calamities. And let's go back and get that. Proverbs 17 and 5. Whoso mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker, and he that is glad at calamity shall not be unpunished. So Esau Edom is glad when the Israelites are going through calamities. They enjoy it. They take advantage of it. That is why they can't go unpunished. They have to get this work. And they go get it. So, let's look. Who is the poor? Revelations 2 in verse 9. And it says, I know thy works and tribulations and poverty. That's poor. It's talking about the Israelites. But thou art rich. We're rich. Because our blessing is spiritual. We have the blessings. So we are rich. The whole world is going to be for the Israelites. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. speaking about the 2/3 who talking about they're Israelites, but they're not technically. They're physically Israelites, but they're not. They're not in tune with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. They're going on. They're either hirelings, or they're doing it for the sake of filthy lucre, or they teach false doctrines. That's what it was going into back then. Now it can be used to talk about those Amalekites over there in the Holy Land, saying that they're the Jews also. But we know they're the devil. Let's go to the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 3. And it says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Okay? And so what do you mean, blessed are the poor in spirit? So it just means that the spirit is downtrodden. It means that they've just been beat down. They're kind of like in a broken state. And who is that? That's the Israelites. From these captivities. The scriptures say, is Israel a homeborn slave? We've been in captivity so much, and we've been at the bottom because we're under these curses still. And that's what got us in this state, because of our disobedience. So let's go get some of these curses and see how our spirits have been broken. We're in this poor state. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 28, and it says, "Yahweh shall smite thee with madness and with blindness and astonishment of heart, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee." Just this curse alone would break a nation of people. But there's so many of them in this chapter. And all of these have been upon the Israelites. And no one can deliver us from them except for Yahweh Shai. And we're waiting on him to come back. Let's go down to verse 43. And it says, "The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down low." So we're the low. We're the tail. We're not the head. "And he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. And he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail." So we're the last. Verse 48. "Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger, in thirst, and in nakedness, and in the want of all things. He shall put a yoke of iron on thy neck, until he have destroyed thee." So we've been destroyed as a people. Literally, we've been destroyed. Verse 49. "And Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand." Now, whose symbol has been the eagle? It's been the Edomites. Okay? When they were in Petra and Mount Seir, their symbol was the Edomite. That was the eagle. When they became the Greeks, their symbol was the eagle. When they became the Romans, their symbol was the eagle. Okay? Even the Nazis used the eagle as their symbol. The Germans. They're all Edomites. And now America uses their symbol as the eagle. And other countries have eagles on their emblems too. It's the Edomite symbol. That's who they are. And there's no escaping who they are. And it says, "A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed. And also shall not leave thee neither corn, nor wine, nor oil, or increase of thine kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee." So that's how Jake became poor in spirit. Why is he saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit"? Because we're going to inherit the kingdom. Remember, Yahweh Shai knew all of this was going to happen. This prophecy connections between scriptures all over this book, and it's beautiful to understand. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 51. In verse 17, it says, the sacrifices of the Most High of power are a broken heart, are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O power, wilt thou not despise? So, Jake has been broken. We have the poor spirit because of all of these curses and oppression that we done been through. And so the Most High is going to hear us when we cry because he knows it's sincere and we have a broken and contrite heart because we just been a downtrodden people. Like, especially when you understand who you are and understand, like, these scriptures, Yahweh Shai is going to hear you. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is going to hear you. Because we became the meek of the earth through these curses that he put us through. And therefore, we shall inherit the kingdom, as the scriptures say. All right, so that's it for part one. I want to say Shalom, Kal Halayim, La Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakadash, and double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone. Shalom.